Hello, everyone, and for you, it was Tuesday. This is the podcast about all fighting games, and with your host, James Chen, aka Jay Chenzor, and sure enough, nobody calls me Jay Chenzor. Everyone just calls me James Chen, because it's actually shorter to say James Chen. But interesting week here. Not a lot of news going on over here. Normally I've had all these Tekken reactions and Street Fighter 6 dev matches to react to. None of that today. So, you know, every once in a while I do a Q&A stream where I just open up questions to the chat and we just talk about things that way. And so that's what we're going to do today. We're doing a little bit of a Q&A here. If any of the topics get a longer discussion, I'll break them out into their own videos, etc., etc. You can look for those on YouTube as well at youtube.com/UltraChenTV. But if you ever want to catch one of these things live, it's always on Tuesday. That's why it's called It Was Tuesday. And it's on twitch.tv/UltraChenTV. So let's go ahead and open this up to the chat. As you can see, the beautiful chat over here. Guest starring you. So let's go ahead and open it for the forums over here. Any questions that you'd like to... I mean, you missed all of the good part here. I talked about the history of the glove of MVC2 Best of 5 show. You missed the glove. I'm already on to the Q&A section here. A bunch of people were asking questions early on. Let me know what questions you guys have. I said save it for the Q&A. Put those questions in the chat right now because I'm not seeing any of these questions in the chat right now. This is going to be a very short episode if I get no questions over here. Ding, 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 ding. Oh, God, it's a high note. Ding. Anyways, why am I so awesome? Because I'm not? Oh, the legendary Street Fighter movie. What are my thoughts? I mean, look, if they can do it right, Street Fighter movie can be very good, but it needs to be closer to Bloodsport than anything, right? A lot of people, I haven't seen it yet, but, you know, people are saying that the plot to Super Mario Brothers, the movie, is pretty paper thin, right? But the thing about it is the movie gives us everything that we wanted out of a Mario movie, right? You watch Street Fighter, the movie, the one with Van Damme, there's like, it gets through like at least 2/3 of the movie before two people actually fight. Like nobody fights. Like Ryu and Vega are about to fight in a cage match and then a truck drives through the wall. Like all you have to do for a good, this is why the Mortal Kombat movie was good. It was just like fight, 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 fight. Plot, whatever, fight, fight, fight. That's what we want to see in a Street Fighter movie. So that's the important thing. So as long as they can do something like that and maybe get the Assassin's Fist guys involved, because the Assassin Fist guys did a really great job, I think would be really, really, really cool. So has the FGC had a big innovation like the leverless controller before? It's hard to say because the problem with it was we were tied to the arcade cabinets for a long time. We went to the home version, everybody was trying to play on the home like an arcade. Like I showed in the picture in this section over here, people were playing with the Mostics on the ground because then it wouldn't shake and everything. It would be sturdy like it is in an actual arcade and stuff. So in terms of like innovation for like controllers and stuff like that, I wouldn't be able to say that there was any sort of crazy innovations as impactful as leverless controllers outside of the proliferation of pad players that got stronger and stronger as time went on. So for sure, there was definitely a lot of players getting stronger. And, you know, the reason why Snake Eyes and Zangief were so scary at first as Zangief players is because they did SPDs on pads. And it was so much more of a subtle motion instead of seeing the guy shake their whole entire body trying to spinning pile drive as fast as possible, which is what made the pad geefs really scary. Of course, in the arcade, there was also a technique called the Hajiki screw, which they highlight in High Score Girl, which is funny because it was invented by TMF. TMF was the creator of the Hajiki screw, where basically if you flick the joystick in a certain way, the spring would have enough momentum that it would spin the joystick for you in 5/8, 3/4 of a circle, and then you could just basically walk up and go bah, bah, like this, and you would actually oh yeah, Fanatic and the one button dash, yeah, but like on the joystick, like you would literally just kind of like take the stick and you would be like, you would like flick it like this in a certain way, and the spring would actually cause it to spin. And then you could do an SPD in the fastest possible with as little bodily movement as possible. And so you could catch a lot of people off guard much quicker with a spinning pile driver than people were actually used to. But yeah, Fanatic on the Dreamcast pad, there were only 6 buttons, and all the fighting games required 6 buttons. Fanatic remapped one of the assist buttons to dash, so he could try dash better with the with a pad, with the triggers over there, and he could basically have a stronger rushdown Magneto at the sacrifice of an assist button. And you know, the rulings for Evo was always, as long as you can set it, the controls that way in the game, you were allowed to do it. Even to the point where Soul Calibur one year had the Hilda glitch, which they actually let rock at Evo, was deemed illegal because it was something that you could set in the game. And so Fanatic actually sacrificed one assist button, which is a huge handicap, to gain the strength of being able to do more perfect tri-dashes with Magneto. And yeah, it was a very controversial thing. A lot of people thought it was kind of cheating. Other people was just like, oh, this is not like the pure way to play it. You are desecrating, you know, Marvel, etc., etc. So it's really interesting in terms of like, but I mean, I wouldn't call that a crazy innovation, Elon. So I would imagine, say, no, the initial reaction to pad players was not like the reaction to leverless at all, because pads were considered weaker. When people first started going there, they were like, you're a pad player, you'll never succeed. That was the attitude. We had this holier than thou attitude of pad players were inferior. They could never be as good as a joystick player. Whereas when the hitbox and leverless controllers came out, it was clear that they could do things that you couldn't on other things. And so there was this fear of them being a cheater box, right? They had the ability to do things more efficiently. And so there was this concept of this is better than what we should be allowed to do. And so that's why you have the reaction from a lot of old school players who played on joysticks. When we went to pads, they were inferior because you couldn't do motions on the pad as easily, blah, 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 blah. But over time, people have all disproven that, right? Like one of the most famous ones is there's no way a Zato player can play Zato on a pad. Impossible. Impossible to play him on a pad because it required twister with your fingers. And that was all Beautiful Dude needed to hear to try to prove people wrong. And Beautiful Dude was inspired by the naysayers, and he became one of the top West Coast Zato players on a pad. Like literally, there's no disadvantage to playing on a pad. And a lot of times now people even talk about some of the advantages, like I mentioned, the Snake Eyes and the Vangie thing. So when we started moving towards consoles and more people were using pads, nobody bat an eye, because we all just felt like, hey, if you're busting this thing out to play fighting games, I'm holding up a PlayStation 5 pad here. If you're doing that, then you are just hurting yourself. I'm sorry, this is a PlayStation 4 pad. You're just hurting yourself. So there we go. I actually wear arthritis gloves because of my psoriasis. As it turns out, they work great when playing arcade games also. Yeah, absolutely. Villager asked the question, what's your thoughts about the SF6 music? I feel like the character themes are too poor compared to older Street Fighter games. Interesting question, Villager. Let's have a preview over here. I was actually going to talk a lot about the music next week. Mainly because 17 themes have been revealed. Only Cammy's theme has yet to be put on YouTube. I was thinking about actually talking about all the themes today, but I'm going to wait till Cammy's theme comes out, and that will be all 18 themes, and I will definitely dedicate an episode to talking about the themes. So there's a little preview for next week. Villager stealing my topics over here. Stealing my topics. Ib Host Delgado. I'm not sure how to pronounce that. I really apologize for that. Delgado asks, do you think fighting games are a genre that can realistically have single player content good enough to attract new players? It feels like it all gets old so fast. Yeah, it does. It can. There's like the VF4 Evolution had really good one-player content. Alpha 3 on the PlayStation 1 had World Tour mode, which was so fun for a lot of people. A lot of people loved it, and it's why in Street Fighter 6 they're calling this mode World Tour mode, because it's literally the name they're deriving it from, basically the best one-player content in Street Fighter home version history, which was for Street Fighter Alpha 3. Basically, you played the game and you would get extra powers, like the ability to chain any normal moves, ability to cancel specials into supers and things like that. And you just gain these power-ups as you kept playing, and you could like take them off and put them on. They turned it into a role-playing game, and it was actually really fun. I really dug the World Tour mode on there. And yeah, MK has a ton of single-player content as well. Story mode is great. That's what we're expecting. That's why for Street Fighter V we're all like, why didn't you at least give us a story mode on launch? But story mode isn't the right answer, right? So this World Tour thing that Street Fighter 6 is doing, I've been told by Capcom that World Tour mode could have been a video game by itself. That's how robust it's supposed to be. And in one of the trailers they showed this big USA globe, and then they showed us running through all of Metro City. And then they introduced Manon and Marisa, and they actually showed a Greece, oh no, it was Italy and France globes. So I'm actually feeling like, again, look, I know I'm in the game. I don't know anything, but my tinfoil hat theory is that because it's called World Tour, Metro City is not going to be the only place we're going to be able to run around. My belief is that you're going to be able to run around all over the world, and that means it's going to be super extensive. That's the hope. That's the prayer at that point in time. So let's see here. Investigation Cone asks. So yes, I do think one-player content can be robust enough in fighting games. You just have to take the time. The biggest problem right now is it hasn't proven to help sell games. Nobody's really done it because they're not sure if it would help sell games, right? If we took all the one-player content away from the NRS games, would it make a difference to the sales? Or do people just want to see fatalities or fight with Superman? Well, my friend played Injustice 2 for about 100 hours and never went online and never fought another human being in their life. They just played all the one-player content in there. So I think that the answer is absolutely undefiably yes. So I really think it's really important that you actually take the time to put stuff like that in there. It's just, how do you convince a fighting game to spend extra budget on that? Especially, see, the difference too was also in the past, remember, these games are being made for the arcade. So whenever they made it for the home, it was just easy to port them to the home, right? You didn't make these fighting games with the idea of adding one-player content, right? You just made fighting games because they were meant to be played in the arcade. But, you know, Alpha 3 did it with the PlayStation 1, etc., and it was pretty cool and everything. Soul Calibur and Soul Calibur 2 had robust, and in fact, Soul Calibur 1 on the Dreamcast was the first game ever to score a perfect 40 in Famitsu, or was it Gamist? In Gamist? Gamist was the first video game ever to receive a perfect 40 score because it had so much one-player content. So clearly it makes a difference, and to this day people say Soul Calibur 1 is still one of the best versions of the game because it had so much content. So absolutely it's worth it, and we just have to prove that now. And to show, and basically, I mean, this is why I hope Street Fighter 6 sells really well, not being a shill, but just being to the point where this can prove to the rest of the world. Like, can you imagine if Harada sees Street Fighter 6 sell really well and all the reviews are like, wow, one-player content is so good, then hopefully that means they'll make as much one-player content for Tekken 8. right? I mean, that's kind of what we want. That's kind of the situation that we're trying to get. So yeah, one player content absolutely makes a difference. Investigation Cone asks, among majors in the early days, is there a character that was tournament banned and should not have been banned? And any that should have been banned and were not? The FGC has a very, very, very long history of not banning anything. Not banning anything. The only things that were banned in a lot of the majors, and again, this was the arcade bias, were console exclusive characters. Even if they were bad, good, fair, broken, whatever. They were banned because people who only played in the arcade had no access to practice against these characters, right? They also, you know, they couldn't play on the pads, so they couldn't really practice at home, whatever. They didn't have access to joysticks because dude, I had to spend like $300 to import Hori sticks from Japan into the United States and got them all stolen at EVO because that's just how it was. People just stole joysticks back then. Someone even knew the guy who stole one of my sticks because I had changed all the button colors, and he was trying to sell the stick, and the guy's like, I know whose stick that is, you stole it, and that guy disappeared and never showed up again. No one ever banned anybody that shouldn't have been banned or anything like that. The only character that's ever been banned for real that was available in the arcade really was Akuma in Super Turbo, because again, this was before real tournaments were taking place, so Capcom didn't care. It was just a funny secret to put in this super overpowered character into the game, and he wasn't even as powerful as the computer version, and he was just in the game, but literally, yeah, some characters just can't beat him. Like Akuma versus Zangief is like a 10-0 matchup. Like round one, fight, jump back, throw an air fireball, that's it. The game is over. Jump back, throw an air fireball. Funny enough, that whole thing was also featured in High Score Girl in a very crucial scene. The Akuma versus Zangief matchup. Oh, man. I lost 2 Hori sticks total. I've had 2 Hori sticks stolen from me at 2 EVOs during the history of my fighting game days. So... yeah, it was very hard to get them, and so people were stealing them a lot back then. I know a lot of people who actually lost a lot of joysticks back then. So, yeah, nothing in memory right now that I can think of that should not have been banned. Let's see. TC Legacy asks, who are you going to play in Street Fighter 6 and Tekken 8? Tekken 8 roster is not finalized, but SF6 release roster is already done. Everyone looks so good. Both games look so nice. I fell in love with Kimberly during the beta because she's actually a good Lucia. A Lucia that's actually playable. Don't get me started on this right now. I'm still so depressed about Lucia. So I loved Kimberly, so I'll definitely be playing her, but I'm going to try to make sure in Street Fighter 6, especially because ranked mode, they have already stated that every character will have different points. So that way, if you get to a certain rank with one character and want to experiment with another character, you don't demolish your score trying to learn the character. I'm also going to try to learn multiple characters. Cammy obviously has to be in there because she's the bae for me, right? And then also Zangief, because Zangief, oh my God, he looks so good. And I'm still a grappler at heart. I've always been a grappler at heart. Zangief was one of my first mains a long time ago, so I'm still going to be playing some. I want to get back into the grapplers. So if Zangief is good, I will definitely be playing some Zangief. Those are the 3 characters. For Tekken 8, it's King, and King. I mean, I played King in Tekken 7. Because Tekken 5, I saw him throw someone out of the air, and like I said, the grappler at heart in me was like, he threw him out of the air as the juggle. And so like Tekken 5 made me kind of like King, but I never took any Tekken seriously until 7. King was my main. And then Tekken 8 was like, yeah, it's Tekken 8. I don't know how much I'm going to get into this because I found out I really suck at Tekken. And, you know, there's so many fighting. Then the King trailer came out, and then King did a juggle with a throw that relaunched the opponent so he could juggle with another throw. And I was like, this is the best thing ever. And again, like, in theory, as a fighting game designer, there's no difference between juggling with a throw that launches than just having a big old move that has similar frame data that just launches them up again and anyway. But it's a fucking throw into another throw, animation-wise. And that's all that matters. Yes, there's really, truly no difference between a hit that launches or you know, a throw that launches. But it was so sick. It was so sick. Yeah, Shay, just feel free to drop any questions into the chat. Just drop it in there. So, what is this YouTube link that we are seeing over here? What is this over here? Oh, this is the Zangief theme. Yeah, I'll get to the themes, like I said, in the future over here. Oh, yeah, that's right. World Tour on Dreamcast. You could download your character on the little VMU on the World Tour Alpha 3 and take them to your friend's house and actually have your configuration saved on there. So when you fought your friends in World Tour battle, you guys could play your cracked out characters against each other. Yes, yes. I remember that now. Yeah, I mean, if, again, Best of Show, Elon, I don't actually know that we can have multiple places to stop in, but that is my guess. That is my theory based on what they've showed us in trailers. I think they're trying to be sneaky and give us hints on that. So I believe that that's actually what's going to happen over there. Following on the discourse L.I. Joe started and you followed up on Twitter, is the range FGC's contents becoming too similar because only certain types of content is working well for creators? Little bit. Yeah, it's tough. So what L.I. Joe tweeted was like, do we have a lack of educational content on YouTube for the fighting game to help people learn fighting games? And I responded, yeah, but the problem is when you make educational content, nobody watches it. Like, I have the First Attack series, and a couple of the First Attack series videos that I made have a lot of views, but then it just tapers down. And the amount of work that I put into the First Attack videos, slideshows, you know, I made PowerPoints, I rehearsed them before I actually streamed them. I made Photoshops to show like how to fight zoners and space control and attack vectors and all these things like that. I put a ton of work into them and they would get no views. They would get no views. So, oh, Sajam actually talked about that today. Okay. Yeah, because he probably saw the conversation there. So I'm planning to redo educational content when Street Fighter 6 drops, of course, like everybody is. I'm going to try to do it differently, a little bit easier, and not as stupidly crazy. Stupidly crazy. And so, I mean, my content, I mean, it would be like 23, 25 minutes long or whatever, but I don't think that educational content does as well. I really don't. It just, honestly, like, you'll see it on most channels. It's like, hey, here's all this stuff, and then this educational content on there gets significantly less views than other videos on there. Most people are right, including Sajam, is that we just have to know how to do it better. We just know how to do the content better, and that's what I have to learn now. I'm just going to have to make educational content that's a little more off the cuff, a little less like detailed. Like, I was doing college courses. Like, I was literally trying to replicate like a college course, and that's not what people want. And so, I mean, look, I made little educational content on like, what's Oki? What is the neutral? You know, stuff like that. These are 2.5-minute videos, 3-minute videos, and they didn't even get that many views. And they took me so much work to make those. It took me like 2 weeks to make like a 3-minute video, damn it. So I just have to reframe my mind on how to do educational content, and I will try to do it in a different way. So while I don't agree with what Sajam says necessarily, I do think that educational content is a harder sell. But he is right in that we have kind of been doing educational content very poorly up to this point, and we need to do better with the educational content. So that's kind of the sign. So keep an eye out on youtube.com/UltraChenTV, because new educational First Attack 2023, the series is coming out. Although now that Mono has co-opted the name of my series for his tournaments, I still tried calling it First Attack, but I don't want it to be confusing. I might just have to call it something else at this point in time. So I mean, it is a fun, rewarding thing, maybe. Because I'll tell you right now, from a monetary standpoint, it's not very rewarding at all. It's not very rewarding at all. You don't know when videos come out on the Ultra Chen YouTube channel? You can subscribe to the YouTube channel right now at youtube.com/UltraChenTV. There's a subscribe button down here somewhere on here. Definitely click on that button, then click on the little icon to make sure that you get the notifications when my videos come out. Like and subscribe, comment below, and give the support to Ultra Chen TV. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Yeah, see? Best of 5 show. There you go. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Hope I answered that question for you. Let's go to another question over here. Let's see. Oh, the first Famitsu 40 out of 40 was Super Mario 64. Okay. No, it wasn't Super Mario 64. It was Ocarina of Time. Ocarina of Time and Soul Calibur were the two first 40 out of 40 games. So if it wasn't Soul Calibur, it had to be Ocarina of Time, Gundam Jehudi Kai. Pretty sure. How about having throw as a launcher? Dude, Zangief had a throw launcher in X-Men vs. Street Fighter, but when you jump cancel it, it wasn't fast enough to let you combo after it. I know in some of the betas it probably was, and they took it away because people probably thought it was too cheap. I've always been mad about that. I've always been mad that Zangief's throw launcher didn't actually lead to an air combo. Favorite Chinese dishes? Nioro Mian, easily one of them. Beef soup noodles, hot gao, aka har gao, aka sha jiao, shrimp dumplings, another one of my absolute favorite Chinese dishes. Like those two come to my mind right away as like two of my favorite Chinese dishes of all time. Oh, shizhitou, lion heads, another one of my favorite of all time. Now, I will also add the caveat that all of my favorite Chinese food is also whatever my mom cooks, because my mom's Chinese food is the greatest Chinese food in the world. I know everybody says that about their parents' food, but it's just like everybody else who ever visits and eats my mom's food is usually like, holy crap, this is so good. Like my mom is the absolute most ridiculous cook out there. The lion heads that she makes, the Nioro Mian that she makes this pork carrot stew that is just like, oh, it is so good. Oh my God. So my mom is just mom is just been one of the greatest cooks that I've ever known. So let's see. What else do we have here? Have you or are you going to watch the Super Mario movie? I have not seen it yet. I want to see it, but I just have no pressure to see it. Like the Marvel movies I want to go see because I'm obsessed with the MCU, and two, there's spoilers. There's no spoilers in the Mario Brothers movie. Oh, there's a Mario Kart scene in there. No way! They put Mario Kart in the movie? Bowser's in it? Like, well, if they were like, oh, by the way, Rosalina and Daisy have cameo. Whatever. Like, who the freak cares? So I'm not really all that worried about it. I'll watch it when I get a chance. It'll probably come out on Peacock or Paramount Plus. I forgot which one does all the Illumination animated movies, but whichever one, it'll eventually show up there. So I've never seen any of the John Wick movies, Shogundo, so I'm even further behind than you are. If I made a new fighting game, what defensive mechanic would I have in it, asks Benedict's Eggs. If I made a new fighting game, what defensive mechanics would I have in it? It really just depends on what kind of game I would be trying to make, honestly, because it really depends, right? Like, I can't say that I would put push block in it because that's really important. Because if push block existed in certain games, it would absolutely be awful. But in certain games like Marvel, without push block, the game would be impossible to play because there would be nothing but block string infinites all day. Definitely depends on the game that I am making and what I want out of the game. That's the most important thing about fighting games too, is that they're all so different from each other. There is no universal answer. So for example, I want to make a Rival Schools game. I want to make a new Rival Schools game. I want to make a new Yi Ar Kung Fu game. I want to make an Avatar, The Last Airbender game. If I made all three of those games, they would all be extremely different from each other. And every single one of them would have a different defensive mechanic set. So it's impossible to really answer that question. You can't answer, and you shouldn't be able to answer that question until you know exactly what your fighting game is going to be and what you want it to be. Got you. The listeners at home know exactly what's going on now. Hi. Hi. Hi, Nathan. Hi, Nathan. Nathan's like, oh, get me out of here. Oh, you can see him. He's struggling. He's struggling. Go, go, go. All right, let's see. How's that Optimus Prime? He's doing well. I just bust out my Lego Optimus Prime onto the stream over here. First Attack as a series is absolutely incredible if you have the commitment. It's a masterclass, not a YouTube series. Yeah, it's really actually true. The worst part about it is I never finished it. Unfortunately. Like, the last episode just stops partway through because I just got sick of editing it. Oh, it was such a pain in the ass, dude. If players aren't learning on YouTube educational content, then where are players learning? Discord, forums, trial and error? Yeah, largely through Discord forums. Missing score. Discords largely is where it's coming from. Nathan is rubbing his head all over the microphone. But also a lot of them aren't, except through trial and error by playing online. And that's why it's hard for a lot of people to get farther in fighting games. I mean, as much as I lambast myself for doing so poorly on ranked, I'm on Super Diamond in Street Fighter V for very little play, might I remind you. I really honestly have not been playing Street Fighter V online for like the past 7 years. It has been super on and off because I don't play online unless you see me stream it. And if you actually go back through my history, I haven't streamed that much Street Fighter V playing online. So honestly, being at Super Diamond with the amount that I've played is actually really freaking impressive. And somebody was saying, like, yeah, if you're in Super Diamond, you're like in the top 2%. And yeah, and that's the thing. Most people can't get past bronze. They'll never get out of bronze or even silver, right? Like, the reason why is because they aren't learning, and there's nothing out there that's teaching you how to play fighting games. And that is one of the hardest things about it. And yeah, Best of V Show says it's important to mention that different people learn in different ways. Some people thrive in trial and error environments, right? Those are the people who get good playing only online. But there are a lot of people who don't, and that's the hard part, is that ranked does not give you multiple ways to learn how to play fighting games. It gives you one way, on how to play fighting games, and that's just not going to work, unfortunately. So a lot of people aren't learning. A lot of people are not learning at all. And that is one of the weaknesses of the fighting game, which is why I said earlier, you know, the game itself needs to teach you. And again, one of the core fundamental themes in my upcoming First Attack 2023 series is going to be the fact that fighting games are very hard because everything you learn that works eventually stops working. Fighting games are just constantly adaptation. You just have to be evolving along the entire time. Be willing to throw away things that you've learned and replace them with other things. And it's one of the most difficult things about fighting games. Let's see. Is it harder to base a profitable channel? Oh, it is. Okay, that's based on the educational stuff. Let's see over here. Clickbait. Yeah, clickbait people to educational content. Ooh, Investigation Cone says the total list of games with 4040 and Famitsu is as follows. Yep, Ocarina of Time first, then Soul Calibur on Dreamcast, then Vagrant Story, then Wind Waker on GameCube, etc., continuing forward from that point. But yes, Ocarina of Time was the first one. Oh, love the Olaf talk. Nice, nice. Yeah, Brawl, they gave a perfect score because of Subspace Emissary. So again, Smash Brothers had this crazy one-player mode with the Subspace Emissary. And it was a big deal at the time having that one-player content. And it did a great job teaching people how to play Smash because it forced you to use every character, and then it also let you pick characters on certain stages, and you know what you would do? You would pick your favorite character, the one that you were doing the best with. It made you find a main character. The Subspace Emissary made you find main characters and taught you how to use your weapons and your arsenal in different ways. You don't realize how much that Subspace Emissary is teaching you. It was actually a really genius mode out there that I guess Nintendo just didn't see fit to keep going, or maybe it was just way too much goddamn work to do. But they've made similar things, like the latest Smash had that crazy one-player mode with Kirby trying to rescue everybody and turn everybody back from being turned into stone and stuff like that. But yeah, Brawl probably got a 40 because of the Subspace Emissary. And Famitsu, like you can see, they're really into the having that kind of variety and having that one-player content kind of thing. Let's see. What do I hope to see in Street Fighter 6 arcade mode? To be fair, I don't even care if Street Fighter 6 has an arcade mode. Maybe it will exist in Fighting Grounds, but what I would like to see in it is random opponents, beat them, goofy ending. Like, that's what I want to see in an arcade mode for Street Fighter 6. And I would love to be able to see that, you know, the AI has some sort of more intelligent basis on, you know, like it was interesting, like, you know, when you played Street Fighter 2 arcade mode, it was really interesting because Ken would jump at you a lot, right? And Ryu wouldn't jump at you. He just threw fireballs and tried to sweep you and stuff like that. Like, if they could design certain characters to teach different kind of things like that, I think that would work. But arcade mode shouldn't be crazy. Like, arcade mode should just literally be beat up on the computer with the difficulty levels on the AI, and then just get a goofy ending. Like, it shouldn't be anything more extensive than that, honestly. Other modes in the game exist now to be able to do things that the arcade mode doesn't have to. Should the arcade mode exist? Maybe. I don't know if anybody would use it, but, you know, just sitting there playing against the computer is stuff that, you know, my brother would want to do, for example. He just wants to be able to play characters and try to land combos on something that isn't a training mode, right? When he played Street Fighter 4, that's all he did was play arcade mode and beat it, and he just wanted to see the goofy endings. And he kept track of every character he beat the game with. And so he would end up using every character as a result in Street Fighter 4. There's some value to that. So I think that's all you really need in there. Ghost mode would be cool, but ghost modes are very difficult, Johnny Wufei. They're very difficult, and I think they require a lot of work. I mean, you saw in Samurai Showdown, they're like, we're going to have this crazy ghost mode. Game came out, and I don't even know if it ever worked. I don't know if it actually ever worked. Let's see. In terms of educational stuff in games, I believe games like Skullgirls, Under Night, and Killer Instinct have the best tutorials to actually learn the game. More stuff of that quality, maybe. Solanero, people have heard me say this before, but I think all those training modes are terrible. And people are going to be like, what? Because honestly, they work the best for people who already know how to play fighting games and go, yeah, see, that's important to learn and that's important to teach. I've gone over this topic many, many, many times. The best tutorials ever in a fighting game: break the target, home run contest, and get the platforms, the platform jump thing in Mario 60, in Smash Brothers 64. Those three are by far the best tutorials that have ever been in a fighting game in existence, because they taught you how to play the game and you had no idea that you were learning. No idea you were learning the entire time. I learned how to short hop down A with Yoshi so I could go dung 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 dung. You know, because that home run contest taught me how to short hop. It also taught me how to control the opponent where they get launched, because you want to keep them on the platform. The future home run contest put that shield in there. That is baby shit, dude. Like, as soon as they did that, they ruined the home run contest. Let me tell you. Break the targets taught you how to use, like, a lot of times you see a target and be like, how do I hit that? And then you're like, oh, PK Thunder. And then you just like shot the shot and like guided it through the maze and hit. Or you're like, oh, I can use Pikachu and lightning through the ceiling and hit the thing up there. Like, break. Home run contest taught you damage and how to control the opponent. Break the targets taught you move and what to do. The difference is one is focusing on damage, the other one's focusing on just hitting things. Break the targets, it didn't matter if you hit the target with a jab, it didn't matter if you hit it with Jigglypuff Sleep, it didn't matter, whatever, it broke the target. So that forced you into movement and how to use your tools. Home run contest taught you sweet spots. You'd be like, wait, why did this move do this much damage one time but not the other? Oh, I see, sweet spot. I learned sweet spots through home run contest. It was about doing damage. It was about figuring out how to damage your opponent and keep your opponent next to you so that you could damage them. These modes taught you all sorts of different things. And so those are the best educational tools in any fighting game ever. The ones that are literally, this is playing fighting games. You use these buttons to do this. Like, everyone does it for the trophy, and then they'll never play it again, and they just don't remember anything. It's just nobody really knows. AMSA holds the Yoshi break the targets record. What a shock. Have you seen AMSA throw those eggs? Holy crap. Holy crap. God, that guy is good. You don't think that those are good enough for learning still. It's a combination of everything, but they're the best of what we've had. There's no context to how it relates. It doesn't need the context. That's the thing. Like, you learn it, and then people put the pieces together themselves, and that will be stronger learning. That will be stronger learning, because then they'll be like, oh, shoot, I remember I could do this. I remember I could do this. And when you have the player do the recall themselves, that is a more powerful teaching tool than anything you can tell anybody. Right? They say that the best way for you to learn is if you could teach somebody else. Well, technically, when you do the recall in a match, you're teaching yourself. And that's how you're going to learn. So I don't agree that the lack of context hurts it. I still think it's the best one that we've ever had. Like, having anything afterwards be like, okay, now that you've learned this, this is how you apply it, will do nothing. I just don't think it'll improve anything. I really don't, because it's text on the screen and you're sitting there reading it, as opposed to, like, I remember hitting the sweet spot with this move with Zelda, and then you're like playing in a match and then you hit with the sweet spot and you're like, oh shit, that's right. And then like things just come into play that way. I think it's really an important way to have people learn through enjoyment and through self-discovery. I think it's one of the most important ways to learn anything. Let's see. Speaking of Street Fighter 6, asks Elon of Best of 5 Show, do you have any thoughts on the players who are super cracked at the game? They seem to always crack the top spots. Yeah, let them. Let them. They'll have success early on, but that success will be fleeting. And honestly, with the way that they only have access to 8 characters, it's not really going to matter. You're not going to really learn how to fight against Marisa any faster than anybody else. You're going to learn how to do with what your character can do, but you're not going to learn like how to fight a lot of these other characters. But it's just not a significant enough of an advantage, in my opinion, to really be that concerned about it. I really don't think we have to be that concerned. So, better place for Evo Top 8. Ballroom versus Arena. I prefer the Ballroom, but that was only because we had a certain size that the Ballroom could accommodate. In the last few years before we moved to the Arena, it was crazy how the Evo Top 8 room would get bigger and bigger and still never enough room and never enough seats. It was absolutely wild. It was wild. So right now, the Arena is the better option, but for smaller tournaments, absolutely the Ballroom is a better option, honestly. But for the size of Evo, having that many people, yeah, the Arena is the right call. And also, it just makes it feel like such a spectacle. Like, it gives it that presence, like this is a big deal. And Evo deserves that. Evo needs that and should have that. And to have it be kind of unique in one of the only Arena events in the FGC, I think is a good thing to really make Evo stand out. But having said that, do I want to see Combo Breaker go Arena? Not really. I like Combo Breaker as a Ballroom. I like Frosty Faustings as a Ballroom. Like, I like CEO in the boxing ring. That's a unique thing. They did an Arena, but with the boxing ring, oh, the wrestling ring, I should say, sorry. And so that's really cool too. So obviously different events can do different flavors, but again, there's no preference because it's really what the event calls for, in my opinion. So yeah, it is tough to justify paying for 2 different tickets, but also, like, how else are they going to afford the Arena? The Arena is not cheap. So yeah, they could just do the Ballroom thing again, but honestly, if they did the Ballroom format in the convention center, it would be kind of miserable because it's all hard floors and echoey and cold and it just doesn't have that same feel, you know, as a carpeted ballroom with a stage and all that stuff like that. So I'd rather have it be at the Arena, and then you can't pay for the Arena without selling separate tickets, honestly. So, and the Arena's a fridge too. Yeah, it can get really or really hot, as we all experienced at well, they experienced at Evo Japan, and we experienced at Frosty Faustings. Frosty Faustings this past year, they ran into that same problem. The ballroom wasn't big enough. I guess they just didn't anticipate that many people. And it was a sauna in there, man. It was a sauna in that ballroom. Holy crap. Wow, it was cold. I mean, it was hot in there. Let's see here. Well, you just throw some games right there. How about elaborating on one of them? Oh, like the Rival Schools one? Like for defensive mechanic, Razalicious? I mean, like I said, it depends. I've never talked about publicly how I would actually do Rival Schools defensive mechanic. But my answer to the Rival Schools defensive mechanic is I don't know what I would use as a defensive mechanic. I just know that I want to put in a lot of them for very different meter costs. Because of the way that I want to build my Rival Schools game, this is very important. So I would have a bunch of different defensive mechanics, whether that be a push block or a tag alpha counter or something like that. It depends. This would depend on as I test the game out to find what's practical, what's good, what's useful, etc., etc. The important part for me is that I want multiple defensive options at different costs of meter. So again, it's not exactly about what the mechanics are, but how I want the game to play. This is where Street Fighter V failed at the beginning, is that they did not know how they wanted Street Fighter V to play. All they knew when the game was launched was that they didn't want it to be Street Fighter IV. That they wanted to get rid of everything that people complained about Street Fighter IV. That was entirely Street Fighter V's existence. Don't let crouch tech work. Make it so that there's no safe DP, FADC kind of stuff. We hated invincible backdashes, etc., etc. They added everything they could to make it not Street Fighter V. And what Street Fighter 6 is important is it looks like they don't care what the previous games were. They had an idea of what to do, what they wanted out of the game, and they built it that way. So again, what I want out of my Rival Schools game is less important about the actual systems, but more of what I want to create out of the game, how I want the game to play. Every fighting game has to have a core system. So Street Fighter 6 is the drive system. Street Fighter 3 is the parry system, etc. Alpha 3 is the isms, for example, right? You have to have that core mechanic. I know what my core mechanic for the Rival Schools game I want to make is. I don't know how all the extra mechanics are going to necessarily fit into that, but I know what I want to do to create the game to play a specific way. And you know, honestly, one of these days I should just publicly talk about my Rival Schools game, because let's face it, it's never gonna happen. Capcom is never gonna hit me up and be like, James, we've heard it, tell us what your Rival Schools idea is, we're making it. Like, that's never going to happen. As much as I would love to dream that that would happen, I don't think it ever would happen, but maybe I'll just talk about it one of these days to really give you the idea of what I'm trying to build out of it to create a very unique fighting game experience. I was not the Evo Mario Kart champ. I was a top 8 finisher. Top 8 finisher. It's not the strike throw era Shogundo, it's the turns era. It's the turns era. Everybody went Tekken. That's really what it kind of went into. Everybody went into the turns era. So Street Fighter 4 and previous, there were no turns in Street Fighter. There were no turns. Nobody cared. Nobody cared because I could throw you with a one-frame throw. I had an invincible DP. I had an invincible backdash. I had a parry. I had a roll. I had just defense. I had, you know, you had everything. You had focus attacks, whatever. Who cared about turns? This era, even Mortal Kombat 11, even especially Street Fighter 5. In fact, Street Fighter 5 is more turns than Tekken 7 is. This is the era of turns in fighting games. And so, yeah, so Strive doesn't really have turns. It does have turns, but again, there's a lot of ways to try to kind of mess those up, right? There's a lot. I mean, you got the perfect guard, you've got the the instant block, you've got the instant block, guard, you've got the YRCs, you've got a burst you can do. Backdash has some invulnerability. You can try to backdash, wake up BRC backwards, etc., etc. So it's really it's less turn-based than the 3 games that I mentioned, honestly. Let's see here. How do you avoid discouragement when it feels like the entire community disrespects your primary game? Play it and just love it, honestly. I mean, if you're a DNF duel player, I mean, that's the first one that I feel like would go to Subatar. Or, oh, no, wait, no, you're a Mortal Kombat player. You're a Mortal Kombat player. I don't think the entire FGC, I mean, I feel like NRS fans disrespect NRS games just as much as everybody else. But yeah, I mean, a lot of it does come down to a lot of the stigma that the NRS games have, and I think it's stupid. I think it's ridiculous, and I mean, you know what? Let them keep disrespecting it, right? They disrespected it like these games are good. Sonic Fox wouldn't win a game that had real competition, and then Sonic Fox killed everybody. So whatever. Whatever. Like I said on Twitter, FGC Twitter is like one of the worst things. And so is FGC chat in Twitch, by the way, because they're part and parcel of the same thing, honestly. But both cat doing? But both of those things are really, really annoying. And like I said to somebody on Twitter too, like people just want attention, right? So they're not gonna type in the chat like, "Wow, MK11 looks really fun," right? Like, because then nobody's gonna respond. But if they're like, MK11 is shit. I don't even know why you guys are playing. When is Street Fighter starting? And then they just rile up a bunch of people. You know, it's just attention. It's just people like attention. So my solution is get cats or dogs, get a pet, so you can get that attention. And now you don't have to let it all out on. Look, everybody wants human attention. They crave human attention, or just another creature's attention. And when you don't get any, you'll get it even if it's bad attention. It's the truth. It's just the absolute truth. So the people who are being trolls in the chat, like, there's a lot of sadness behind the tales. Now, some people are just griefers because they think it's fun making everybody mad. But a lot of them have these kind of background stories. It's an unfortunate kind of situation. It's just the way it is. People crave attention. It's just what they want. And it's really kind of annoying. It's kind of frustrating and unfortunate. It's unfortunate that it's there. I fall into it too. Why? I don't need to type out that I think Lucia sucks on Twitter and that I think she's fucking garbage and she's like the bottom 2 character in Street Fighter V. I don't need to do that, but I can't help it. Like, as soon as I'm done playing, I just need to yell somewhere. And so, like, I contributed too. It's just how it happens, dude. Markman said when Stream Monsters are not part of the FGC. I don't even remember that, but I think Markman was referring not to the entire stream chat. I think he was meaning the specific people who are there just trying to be haters and trolls, because the people who are watching are so much part of the FGC. In fact, people watching the streams, I think, are the most important part of the FGC. Twitch viewers and stream watchers, I think, are the most important people in the FGC, because they're going to determine whether the FGC succeeds or not. Whether FGC succeeds or not comes completely solely based off of viewership, because you can't get sponsorship. You can't create an actual industry where people are going to be able to play video games as their job without viewers. Viewers are everything for the success of any sort of competitive scene or any form of entertainment. It's always going to be the viewership. So I think the viewers are more important than anybody else in the FGC. Players will come and go, commentators will come and go, TOs will come and go, but the audience needs to be forever, honestly. It is scary to have your biggest stakeholders be a group of people with no skin in the game. That's just how it is. Unfortunately, that's how it works. Let's see. Anything over? I remember watching the show on Capcom Fighters Channel with Vicious. When playing the CPU, it looks like the CPU at hard levels is hella good. That's good. That's good. Any other questions over here? Let's see. Do I think making rank hidden from the players and just using it for matchmaking would make the online experience more comfortable and less stressful for players? Yes, but then at the same time, they wouldn't know what they're doing goals-wise. That's what Strive tried to do with the floors, but they failed because they did a very bad job with the floors, because floors 1 through 8 should have been floors 1 through 2. They overestimated how their floor system, and it was too easy to get up to the top floor, unfortunately. But that's what they were trying to do. But people need to have those kind of goals to really understand. So that's really, really important. Trying to hide the actual rank score might be good because numbers are just bad. I've always said that. It's why I've always said that I don't like frame data heavy games, because numbers are scary. People laughed at me about that, but it's absolutely true. Numbers are scary and they're annoying and they're intimidating. And seeing this value go up and down all day, it's a problem, right? That's how most gacha games get you, are putting numbers on the screen. You're at level this, you're at power level this weapon is this level. And you just you get addicted into this kind of really self-destructive cycle of trying to power level things, increase numbers, and that really kind of sucks the enjoyment out of a lot of things. It really does. Did I ever fix my apartment? So yes, the home is fixed right now. Olaf has moved back into the room, slowly getting it back to the point where it's like a home for him again. I have worked with a lawyer. The city has said that they will be responsible for the damages. So, thank God, that's a big weight off of my shoulders, honestly. But honestly, I still am hoping to get a little bit more because, like I said, I missed rent for 6 months. I had to pay all this money to do all this other stuff. I had emotional stress and stuff. So hopefully I can get a little bit more right. Back pay and interest. Like literally, I have never had this little in my bank account in my entire life. Because I've had to spend over like $20,000. I've lost basically $20,000 like in the last 6 months. Just because of this thing that happened. And so like I am just basically financially fucked right now. In 6 months, I essentially lost over 20K. So trying to take care of this problem. I know it could have easily been a lot worse than that, but it still sucks when you're a starving artist content creator. Whee! So yeah, I mean, dude, this one person that I went to the bank because I started getting fines in one of my bank accounts because you needed a minimum in there, which I never knew you needed because I never went below the minimum, but I started getting fines in there. And I talked to the person at the bank and she was just like, God, I'm so sorry. Like, I can try, but they limit how many fines we can overturn because the banks feel like we're doing this too often. She's like, I don't know if I can help you. And then she called and then they took away all of my fines. And I literally cried at the bank. Like I literally just told the lady, like, you are my hero. And I was like crying at the bank over like $20 fines in my bank account. Like I was so happy. I was so happy to have saved like $60 in fines. Like I told the lady, I was like, I'm crying right now. She was like, no, don't do that. You're going to make me cry. So again, Brandy at Chase Bank in Santa Monica, I told you in person, you are my hero. Thank you. I love you to death, dude. She was definitely my hero. Oh man. So yeah. But it was pretty crazy. I mean, hopefully, hopefully. Oh my God. But yeah, like it's been a rough 6 months. It's been very stressful watching the bank account just disappear for like the last 6 months. You can't even imagine. I mean, you've probably seen my tweets where I'm just like, I don't feel like doing anything. I haven't been streaming. I'm doing nothing because my mood was obviously affected by that a lot. So it's been absolutely miserable. So hopefully, I can get something more from the city, but if they cover all the charges at least, then I'll be happy and I could even pay back my friend that had to help me at this point in time. So, financially, like I literally had to rely on a friend to help me survive, to keep afloat at this point. Oh, great. Now, see, look, I'm not saying this just so you would gift sub Elon, but I appreciate it very much. Very, very much. So appreciate it. And these guys helped a lot too. The boy and the girl helped a lot. Hi, Nathan. And you are not now. Good. I'm glad to hear that. Elon. But yeah, so yeah, to answer your question, things are looking better right now. Hopefully, I'll be back on my feet and in a normal situation again very soon. Very, very, very soon. So, someone did in the chat ask, I forgot to answer that, but I didn't see it when I was scrolling through, how much I feed my cats. Not a lot, to be honest with you, because my cats are fat and they don't get a lot of exercise, and this guy had to lose weight. So I had to make sure I did not feed this guy too much. Some current FG news tossed around is making fighting games easier to play to bring in new players from different games and genres, and they can just pick up a controller and play. I'm curious how you feel of what is the right balance of easy to pick up and challenging to master. What do you think about the design challenges these games devs are going to face? I still like Granblue's method a lot, which was, having the motion version of the move be better with quicker cooldown. Now, you don't have to use the cooldown system, but, you can find other ways to improve it. Even modern controls in Street Fighter 6 in the beta are scaled. All special moves do 80% of the damage that traditional controls had. At least it was in the beta. Who knows how it's going to change? I really do think motions have a lot of effect that a lot of people don't understand. There have been people out there, for example, again, not trying to talk smack about anyone, just presenting different points of views. Dave Serlin was very famous for saying that in the end, motions don't matter because the best players never miss them anyway. I disagree with that heavily because, like I said, whether you make an SPD motion, an SPD, or a fireball is really going to affect how an SPD works, right? You notice they don't give anybody a reverse DP anymore these days, like Fei Long had, because there's just a lot of inherent advantages to having a reverse DP, especially with DP shortcuts. If I had Fei Long with DP shortcuts in Street Fighter V, I could hold down back, and anytime I want a DP, down forward, down back, kick, and I would get a DP. That's really powerful to have, to be able to try to DP in the middle of things while never standing up and basically blocking for 90% of the time. It's really, really powerful. And so motions absolutely make a difference, right? If you're fighting against Zangief, you'll focus more on the Zangief trying to jump at you than walk up an SPD, because you can react. You have to react faster to the jump than you do to the walk up SPD, because the SPD isn't a button. But I mentioned the Hajiki screw and how the Hajiki screw actually made Zangief stronger in Super Turbo, because you could walk up an SPD faster. And that learning that technique was enough to give improvements to Zangief. You know what I mean? Like, obviously these things matter. And I mean, freaking look at KOF 11. You give me back quarter circle back as a freaking red kick, and like, I hate everything. Like, life literally sucks. Like, motions absolutely matter. So I prefer fighting games with motions, but again, if you intelligently design moves so that you do have one button special moves, there's plenty of ways to make it work. I know, for example, Pocket Rumble added startup to basically most special moves to make up for the fact that everything was a one-button special moves. And so you basically had to, and you couldn't just DP and be invincible on the frame that you press the button. You still needed that anticipation to be able to DP somebody out of the air, because the startup, you could get hit out of, you can design it intelligently. There's no right answer. So I can't. I would be wrong to say that motions are important. Like screw League of Legends, Project L for not having motion. Like what you can design the game so that it works, right? You literally can. And whatever at this point, like as long as you know what you're doing and you know how to balance your game around the decisions that you make, your game will turn out perfectly fine. Right? There's a lot of people out there who love Fantasy Strike, made by Dave Serlin, who's, same thing, one button special moves. And, a lot of people out there really appreciate that game for helping them learn fighting games and breaking the core fundamentals of fighting games down to, certain areas that really help them learn the game. So he made a game without motions, and it works for a lot of people. So there you go. I've heard Yomi Hustle is really, really cool and helped them learn the mindset of fighting games as a turn-based game. And then for those people like me, when you just enjoy doing the motions, it's just fun to do. So Flipped Pie says, I am yet to be convinced that easy entry options for players have had any substantial improvement to the FGC and to visibility of fighting games to a more casual player base. I agree with that. Snake Eyes was talking about that a lot. He was definitely talking about it. He's like, is there any proof that that easy controls actually gets people to play more fighting games? No, there's just not, right? We don't know that. And, games like CSGO and stuff like that, like, yeah, there's some auto aim. There's always an element of that kind of thing in a lot of video games out there. But, people get good at all these video games out there, man. Like, people get good at everything. And so, like, it's just whether or not it's worth your time or not, or, how much you can dedicate to it. Everything is going to be a little bit hard to get into. And, even if you make things... So the problem with it is if you make things easier to do, it's actually stronger for the better players anyway. So the person playing the game with the easier controls is going to have a similarly miserable experience dying online. Which now comes back to the fact that, yes, ranked match is miserable. Like, we need to do better than ranked match. So, we've got a lot of ways to work on this. But it's good if we have a game like League of Legends, Project L come out to try it and see if it can prove it one way or the other. Just like I said, if Street Fighter 6 comes out and sells like hotcakes and everybody praises the one-player content, that sets a precedent to everybody else. If it comes out and all the new players are playing modern controls in Street Fighter 6 and we get a whole new birth of players playing modern control, that is a huge thing to understand. Same thing with Project L. If that comes out and has one-button special moves, if that has increased the player base, that is something very important to note, right? So far, what we have right now is DNF Duel and Granblue Fantasy Versus. Now, obviously, there are other reasons why they aren't as popular, but they have one-button special moves, and it hasn't necessarily increased their player base all that much. But again, like I said, there's so many other reasons, so we can't tie it directly to the input just yet. We don't know just yet. So there's a lot of things that we need to find out. So Bonded for Life asks, would you have liked ArcSys to make another shonen fighting game like DBFZ, like Naruto or Bleach? I don't watch anime. Like, none of it really matters to me, unfortunately. So I am not the audience to ask there. So I don't know. Rama 1/2. We don't need Rama 1/2. We have Street Combat, baby. We have Street Combat. Rama 1/2 is irrelevant. Street Combat is the way to go. I kind of have an unanswerable question. Well, Pony First Time Chat says motion control is a big part of why I play fighting games. It's very satisfying to have spent time in training mode rewarded with executing fluid combos. Exactly. Some people really enjoy that kind of thing. Valkyrion7 asks, let's see, how can I develop a killer edge in fighting games? If I play ranked against lower players, I can't bring myself to destroy them, even if I know I can. But I feel like it holds me back because the same nice guy attitude gets me blown up at the same level or high level matches when I notice they are not stopping certain things like anti-air or not teching throws. That is a great question because I have that problem too, Valkyrion7. Like a lot of times I just don't like blowing people up really badly, but you know, I've had to get used to it a little bit more. I don't know. Like you said, it's kind of unanswerable question. I don't know. I can't answer it because I have the exact same problem. I have the exact same problem. And also Super Kokojin 916. If you don't know what my Street Combat joke is all about, please look up Super Street Combat and Rama 1/2. Please look up Street Combat and Rama. Oh, you do? Okay. I've brought it up a lot on the stream too, so. I would rather have directional inputs a la Power Rangers Battle for the Grig than one special moves like Rising Thunder. Rising Thunder was that way, wasn't it? Rising Thunder was up, down, left, left, right, and down, right? There's no other way to do one button specials. I'm pretty sure Rising Thunder was like that. Or did Rising Thunder have 2 special move? Oh, there was 3 special move buttons? Was it like that? Jesus Christ, I barely remember at this point. Oof. That's a tough one. Valkyrion says he can't do it. Every time I rock someone's face off, I think of a sad person on the other side and drop the next match. Dude, you have empathy problems like I do. But again, that's what makes me a good commentator because I have so much empathy. And so when I talk about the players and stuff, I can feel their pain so well. And I'm really good at just like connecting the audience with the players and stuff, you know. It's tough, Valkyrion. I totally get it. It is not an easy thing to do, but I'm also competitive, so that part actually does sometimes override it, where I'm just like, I'm gonna kick your ass because I'm just in that mode right now. So it's really tough. It's really tough. If you have that empathy factor, it is hard just to be in a competitive environment in any capacity whatsoever. But that's just the way. Oh, you're an elementary school teacher? You can't deal with sad people? Look, man, I don't know what to tell you at that point, man. I don't know. You know what you need to do? You need to be like Michael Jordan, right? Fuck them kids. Oh, man. Anyways. Oh, man. Oh, yo, Perfect Legend. Carl's in the chat. Nice. What's going on? Don't you sit here trying to advertise in my chat. Don't you try to advertise on my stream, Perfect Legend. Don't you do it. Don't you do it. Oh, man. Any other questions at this point? At this point. Any other questions? See, I love what Perfect Legend did. He's like, advertise what? It's that little girl going, you know. That's the fighting game player in him, dude. I know what you're doing there, Carl. I know what you're doing there. I won't duck you in Street Fighter 6. I'll duck you in Street Fighter 5 because I'm garbage in Street Fighter 5. Says the Super Diamond player. I'm garbage in Street Fighter 5, but we'll see what happens with 6. My question is about content creators. How come more fighting game content creators don't collaborate more? Like in Magic the Gathering content community, it's collab after collab. Why not the FGC? Because everyone's trying to make money. Everyone's trying to make money. Only one of the YouTube channels is going to make that money when you put that video up. But I mean, I think people are gonna try to collab more, but I just think we haven't figured out the proper way for it to benefit everybody. Honestly, I think that's a Psycho Damo. How come Street Fighter 4 is my least favorite SF game? I don't want to call it my least favorite, like, but it's kind of, you know, again, I think it's the weakest out of all of them, but I don't like the connotations that I don't like the game. The reason why Street Fighter 4 doesn't resonate with me as much as a lot of other ones is just because I hate the Vortex. I hated Vortex. I really, really, really hated Vortex because Vortex was not about playing a fighting game anymore, it felt like to me. However, Street Fighter 4 is still one of the most important fighting games and one of the best fighting games because it really made sure that it taught you to find the character that you like to play, and its characters were significantly stronger than the system. Street Fighter 6 and Street Fighter 5 are very much more system strength than character strength. Street Fighter 4 was one of the most main games that was so character individual and very, very little system, overarching system factor in the game. And so it really made it so that it catered to everybody. Everybody had, well, yeah, you're an Akuma player, Perfect Legend. Of course you like Vortex. Well, hitting people with Vortex. But, you know, yeah, character expression. Character expression I thought was really, really good in Street Fighter 4. If you were an execution guy, there was the execution characters. If you were a zoning guy, you had the zoning characters. If you liked Rushdown, you had the Rushdown characters. If you wanted simple execution, some characters were very simple execution, etc., etc. You could find the character that fit your playstyle. It might not be the character that you wanted, so if you suck like me and just have to play a character based on the character, not the way they play, then you get stuck with shitty characters like Lucia. But if you are a person who can find the character that suits you best, Street Fighter 4 was a wonderful, wonderful game for that because it had a character for just about everybody to play, honestly. I like it less than Street Fighter 1. Okay, look, Street Fighter 1, the only way to challenge someone is if you both put a quarter in at the start screen, challenged each other, and whoever won had to go and fight the computer. You couldn't even re-challenge in Street Fighter 1. Like, literally, you could not re-challenge. The only way to play a challenge again was to let yourself die, go back to the title screen, and both insert a quarter again. That game doesn't count. That doesn't count. What's the reference to Matt McMuscle, Super Kokojin? Not to say this were not impactful. The backdashes and focus attack had a huge impact on the game. True, Necromancy Black, but again, so what you saw from Street Fighter V was the era of homogenization, right? Every character's sweep sucks on block. Every character has it. Every character. Whereas, like in Street Fighter 4, some characters clearly had better focus attacks than some other characters. Like Viper was famous for having a shitty focus attack, while Cammy was famous for having an amazing focus attack. So honestly, it's very, even though the system mechanics were there, it was like Cammy had the best backdash in the game, right? Like she had one of the best backdashes, least invul frames, but it was fast and it moved back very far. So again, even though the system mechanics were there, there was variety amongst the system mechanics. Like for me, I would have loved it if Lucia forward threw you and had actual throw loops, right? Like just she forward threw you and then she was just right next to you. Or since Cammy's sweep, even in Street Fighter V, had no range, make her safer on block. But again, it's like every character is homogenized so that forward throws do not give you pressure, back throws give you some pressure, everybody's sweep is very punishable on block, etc., etc. we entered an age of homogenization with a lot of characters. So even though Street Fighter 4, those systems were strong, even within the system itself, it was hugely varied. Some characters couldn't even really use FADC cancels very well at all. Like, they just didn't have anything good out of it. Look, they already took away Potemkin's backdash in Strive. All right? And they didn't need to do that. Potemkin did not need to have his backdash nerfed like that, okay? So there's no way Zappa's making it in there with that same backdash. With self-motivation. Sorry, Perfect Legend. I've been that way for basically half of my life, okay? Half of my life, I was the cockiest, most arrogant motherfucker. And then something happened, and then I basically changed to the most, like, humble, and, like, now I just think I'm shit at everything. So imposter syndrome human possible. Oh, man. Okay. So let's see. Dude, hashtag buff Potemkin, dude. Potemkin makes me so sad. Ugh. Yeah, if they kept it, people would be getting scooped at an alarming rate. Is that a problem, Prospect? That would be amazing. You don't think this character needs it right now? You don't think Potemkin isn't just complete utter ass in Strive right now? Holy crap. Yeah, that's the idea. That people would get scooped all day. That is the core concept of why he should have that invul again. Oh, man. Poor Potemkin. Poor. One of these days, they'll add a system mechanic that benefits only Potemkin and nobody else, instead of adding system mechanic after system mechanic that hurts Potemkin and buffs everybody else. One of these days. One of these days. All right. I think that's going to be it for me today, because I don't see a lot of other questions rolling in here. And so I'll probably just call it for a night. But thank you guys for tuning in. Hope you guys enjoyed this Q&A session over here. Hope you guys had a good time as usual on the stream. If you guys enjoyed this kind of Q&A session content too, where I just answer random questions, let me know. And I'll do these more often as well. Hope you guys really enjoyed it. And again, like and subscribe, do all that stuff. And follow me on Twitch as well at twitter.com/jchenzer, twitch.tv/ultrachentv, as well as twitch.tv/jchenzor. I stream on both. I know it's confusing. It's just an unfortunate product of how everything went down with UltraChen TV. It's just how it works. So I have 2 Twitch channels, but only one YouTube channel, youtube.com/UltraChen TV. There is a Twitter for UltraChen TV, but trust me, I haven't looked at that thing in like months, so I apologize if you have tried contacting me there. But outside of that, thank you guys for watching as usual, and keep playing those fighting games out there. Enjoy all the fighting games that you can, and thank you for tuning in and hanging out. And again, this day that this podcast, that this show graced your presence, was clearly the most important day of your life. But for me,
it was Tuesday.